Gordon Hayward appeared on the podcast P with Paul George. Not playoff P, get it? Podcast P this week. And he reflected on the 2018-19 Celtics, saying, in my eyes, it was just we all had too many agendas, and the agenda to win the whole thing was not the main one. Not to blame anyone either, because I think it was all human nature. There's only one basketball, and it's hard to make that work. I think that was our biggest issue, was we were all trying to prove stuff individually and never really came together as a team. Even still, we made it to the second round, and that was with all the difficulties that we had. And he also said the team had about 5 players-only meetings that things just went in one year.
I'm sure those were so much fun.
And out the other. And like
5? Can you know 5? Think about that. 5 players-only meetings. You remember the first one. The second one, you're like, okay, guess we'll do it again.
5 players-only meetings.
There were 3 more after that?
And Forsberg, imagine 5 players-only meetings with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, that's yes. Thank you for stressing that part.
Here we go. I'm like, oh, damn, no, I can't make it. I can't make the players-only meetings. I'm hanging out with the coaches. Sorry. Yeah, y'all go ahead. So are you surprised by anything that Gordon Hayward said?
Like everyone is acting like all surprised, like, oh my God, I can't believe Gordon Hayward is saying it. We know this. 2019 was a complete disaster. You have Terry Rozier going on a media tour afterward, like 3 days after the season ended, being like, I did all I could do. And, Gordon Hayward, everyone was mad about him getting minutes, even though Brad knew he had to be out there in order to have a chance. And, it was just never going to work. And it will be a fascinating story, whether it's, the 50th anniversary or next year or 10 years or 20 years from now. We'll be like, how was this team not more in the conversation to win a title? And anyone who was around that team can tell you it was because it was just a mess, and Marcus Morris was always telling about how uncomfortable it was. And I can't imagine what Kyrie was doing in those players-only meetings, like just sitting there and staring off into space and blaming everybody else. But yeah, it was just never going to work. And it is, I will say this, to spin it somewhat positively, it gives you an appreciation for this year where your 2 superstars seem to be willing to sacrifice as much as anybody and embrace the other talent that has been brought in. And now that's easy to do in October, November, December. We'll see what happens as the season goes along. But I'm far more bullish on this team being able to do it than I was that 2019, where Kyrie is still telling everybody, don't worry, once we get to the playoffs, it'll be fine. I'm definitely not going to try to guard Giannis and get my way out of town.
That's the biggest thing to me is you look at this team and the way that all the pieces fit together because of those guys. 3 of those guys are still on this team with Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and they right now are making the sacrifices they need to, including Al Horford coming off the bench.
It was so miserable. Al Horford begged to leave. He left for Philly, ridiculous.
And how about Hayward saying, "Hey, we made it to the second round." So so you won your first round series.
That's as far as he's made it in the playoffs, I think.
5? Didn't they lose in 5?
Yeah, they won game 1 against Milwaukee, and then I think they lost 4 straight.
Yeah. Gentlemen sweep. Yeah, they won that. They had swept Indiana, and then they got that first one against Milwaukee, and that's when Kyrie went, nope, time to go play with Kevin Durant. Deuces, everybody.
Ask me July 1st. Talk to me July 1st.